how does an actor prepare to do characters like these? Well, there's obviously a lot of different techniques in acting around the world, so we can't say exactly how these actresses prepared. We weren't there. But some things to keep in mind. Let's go character by character. Agnes, the dying sister, who's played by Harriet Andersson, is probably the most open to her senses. She revels in her senses. She experiences the world largely in a sensory way. There's a flashback sequence to when the three sisters were all young, beautiful women, and they were home for a holiday at their parents' estate in the country. And it's a lovely scene, beautifully photographed, where the three women in their white outfits were walking through the gardens and enjoying it. But what they're enjoying, and particularly Agnes, is the nature, is the smells, is the sounds of the birds and the breeze and the trees and the little lake and everything, the trees, everything around, the smells. It's so clear that without being overdone, it's real, that this sense memory she has of them together said a lot about the closeness of the three sisters, the love between them, or at least what she had for them, and the feeling of perfection, of the perfection of nature, the perfection of being alive, the possibility of it, that she feels like it was the most perfect moment in her life. And we can try to describe it in words. It sounds not that unusual, but for her, it was perfection. It was because it was the senses in the moment. That was the most you can have in life, is that extraordinarily positive feeling in all your senses at the same time and with the people you love. You find that she's also a painter, an amateur painter, but she's a painter. It seems to be her greatest love of an activity in life is to watch nature and to paint it, to see light in a different way, to see objects in a different way, in a different light, to make a personal connection with it. She's also quite a spiritual person. After she dies, a priest comes, which is a very interesting scene with what the priest says, because it starts out being the normal, I'm going to comfort the mourners and say a few things from the Bible and talk about the mysteries of life and how she's going to a better place. It's the usual stuff. But then he actually starts to open up and be more personal. And he gets fairly emotional in talking about Agnes, that she really was this pure creature. And he says at the end of it that, and he seems like a fairly high-level churchman. He says, her faith was greater than mine. And he means it. And yet, she doesn't seem obsessed with religion. Not at all. She's open to a lot of influences. She's just sort of calmly, naturally spiritual, as though that's her normal state, without being pretentious in any way about it, without advertising it at all. And this is what I said before about her performance, is that it's a kind of purity, but not a stereotypical purity, not a cliched purity. It's so natural that you almost don't notice it, except it's really there. And when you see it, it moves you. It moves you greatly, because how can a human being actually be that way without any corruption in their heart? And yet, it's possible. Maybe you've seen a couple of people in your life like that, and she seems to be one of them. it's interesting how focused on touch her character can be. She needs, when she's suffering in pain, she needs the warmth of Anna, the maid, which is a wonderful performance by Kari Sylwan. This rather large woman who, and she's kind of like a docile cow. She's very warm, loving, motherly, extremely motherly. Seemingly, possibly a little stupid, although actually she's not. But she knows her place as a servant. And obviously she has secret thoughts about her superiors that are probably not all that nice, but for justifiable reasons. But she never shows that. But when it feels like she truly loves Agnes, and she strips almost naked to hold Agnes when she's suffering in terrible physical pain in her warm body. And it doesn't come across at all as being sexual. Who knows? It could be, it could have been that earlier, before Agnes was so sick that they had sex. We don't know. It's never said, it's never talked about. It's a little bit alluded to by Karin, the sort of nastier sister, as though, oh, well, she was a little over devoted, meaning they were having an affair. But again, that's just sort of gossipy. And even if it was true, and who cares, first of all? And secondly, it's not really important. What's important, because she's not being sexual with her in these scenes, she's being warm and motherly and trying to give her as much comfort as she can when the poor woman is in so much physical pain. And you get that for Agnes, just the touch and the warmth of Anna, much more than from her sisters, who give her very little of that, is extraordinarily important. It's something that allows her to actually even breathe through the pain, is to have that warmth of Anna around her. And it's actually very moving for the audience to see that, a kind of pure love between people that is based on giving and taking because of the pain, and that exchange is it's a little bit of a pietà sort of feel, a mother and child, where the child is dying or sick or something like that. Like Michelangelo's great sculpture of Jesus and his mother and the Virgin, when he's dying, when he's taken off the cross, is the pietà, the pity, but real pity. And that's very powerful, and it's very much sensory. Again, it's sensory. And if you're going to play these roles, you have to get into the world of the senses, first of all, of what's really here in the senses, here and now, but also in sense memories of the character. That's something that even the actor's studio doesn't get into so much. A little bit, but not so much. I like to go very deeply into the sense memory of the characters, meaning you have to create their lives from their birth all the way up till the present, and what their senses, how their senses developed, and the memories of their senses, and what they're triggering in the character, emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually, in all these ways. This, to me, is something, some actors do it instinctively, even though they haven't been trained in a technique of that. They just do it. Usually veteran actors have been doing some kind of sense memory from their own lives for a long time, will start to do that. It'll start to come to them. If you practice that, it comes much more easily.